So my vision of Nipost as Nigeria's most trusted institutional infrastructure platform, not just a postal service. So I think, I've already said that we're not just a postal service, but I believe, and for me, my vision is that Nipost is the national backbone that government, businesses, and citizens rely on for addressing logistics, financial access, and service delivery. So on financial inclusion, obviously we know that Nigeria's geography and patchy distribution of formal financial infrastructure means that we have millions of citizens that transact entirely outside the system. And this is where I think that our distributed network of locations changes that equation. Currently, Nipost operates two sort of financial businesses. We have an agency banking platform, as well as we have a remittance platform. So the remittance platform comes from just the traditional postal, and this is a global postal service where people talk about, oh, they got money orders from France, they got money orders from the UK. That business offering has still been within the postal sector globally. It's never been stopped. So through the Universal Postal Union, their international financial system, we do offer remittance products. And the good thing is that with the remittance products, you don't have to come to the post office to collect because of our integration with the Nigerian interbank settlement system. If anybody can send you, you can get remittances straight in through the post, straight into your bank account. And one of the places where we're really being bullish about is the African subcontinent. It's easier to send money to the UK, to the US and Canada than it is to send money to Cameroon at this point in time. So we're really focusing our remittances and cross-border payments on the African market, which has historically been very fragmented. Then in terms of government service delivery, we have currently we're doing NIN registrations across our post offices. We're working with NIBS on things like pension verification, NQR payments. We're doing quite a few things. And because we are the closest government service delivery institution to most people who are sort of outside included populations, right? We're able to use our distributed network to deliver government services. And the great thing is that because we're able to do NIN registrations, with the great work that NIMC is doing, eventually any service that is linked to your NIN, any government service that's linked to your NIN will be accessible at your local post office. One of the other financial things that we do is agency banking, so cash in, cash out, and things like that. On accountability, I think that even one of the biggest projects at one of the most consequential projects that Nipost is doing, not just for Nipost, not just for the digital economy, but I think just for Nigeria as a whole, is the new digital alphanumeric postcode, which was approved by the Federal Executive Council in February of this year. I mean, what that does for Nigeria and Nigerians is immense. This is not even something that is limited to logistics or courier. This is something that has additional benefits to most government services where there's a spatial identity that's needed for the delivery of that service. So think census, think urban planning, think emergency services, taxation, land titling, electoral administration, public health mapping, emergency services response. All these will become more efficient with this digital alphanumeric postcode, which will be rolled out by the end of this year. Basically, what it means that finally, Nigeria will be a country that can locate its citizens, because the country that can't locate its citizens cannot serve them efficiently. So what we are doing for Nipost and for the Nigerian economy is that we're building the foundation of where the government can locate its citizens. And on innovation, we're actively exploring a lot of technology, so payment infrastructure, data analytics. There's something interesting we're doing with AI, using our historical data on outbound to even do predictability for people who need to ship things outside Nigeria, for businesses who do external shipping, and based on our historical data, which we have a lot of, to see the best routes, the best partners based on location and timing and things like that. So this is one of the most consequential questions right now we have at the Nigerian Postal Service, which is at the heart of our reform. Currently, Nipost wears two hats. We're both a service operator, and in aspects, we are also a regulator, right, for the courier and logistics ecosystem. And so managing that dual role with integrity requires very deliberate governance design and an institutional commitment to neutrality. So in practice, this means that our engagement with private courier and logistics operators is governed by clear published rules that are applied consistently. We do not use our institutional position to tilt the playing field in our favor commercially. And this is something I'm very, very, I'm very, very particular about, because in a country like Nigeria, where it's almost very easy to use your strength as government, to sort of get what you want out of private sector. It's something that, even when we get people who do presentations and want to do particular projects with us, I'm very quick to tell them that in my work at Binance and in my work at Uber, that these things, I always tell them that these things that you're proposing are things that I fought vehemently, right? And I always call it regulatory overreach. Right. In everything that we're doing, there has to be a detailed analysis to see whether our regulations are fair to us and to the private sector, because it's very easy as a regulator, to overreach your boundaries, so to speak. And this is this is a reform. So the Federal Executive Council also approved for us an operator partnership model. And what we want to test with that operator partnership model is that what we want to do is kind of what Royal Mail has done in the United Kingdom, because they were also the same way, where the front office, the post office, is run by private operators, right? And Nipost just remains a logistics backbone. And that's one of the ways we think that we then sort of move back. Even though we own the network, we do not operate the network, which makes it fairer to the private sector, who will be participants in this operator partnership model as well. So what we're doing is even ideally giving up our network and allowing private sector to operationalize it, make it more efficient. And I think that that's one of the things that government should be doing, is finding ways for ecosystems to be more efficient. We have a network that's unrivaled by no other private sector can replicate what Nipost has. And we want to turn that strength over to the private sector to run more efficiently for us. So it builds Nipost, it builds Nigeria, and also builds the private sector. Yeah.
Thank you. How is the governing board of Nipost structured, and how does it support effective oversight and decision-making?
So Nipost governing board is constituted in line with the Nipost Act of 2004, with the guidelines that were under the Ministry of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy. So the ministry and the Honorable Minister have oversight over Nipost. The board consists of representation from government, a chair from outside. The alternate chair is always the PS of the ministry. What the legislation says is that everybody has to have relevant expertise in terms of governing a complex institution that has a lot to offer, so across commercial, regulatory, and social mandates. And the board's role is to provide strategic oversight, not necessarily to manage operations, but to ensure that management is accountable, which is something that is very needed in public sector. That our strategy is sound, because whatever strategy Nipost does or any other public institution affects government and affects citizens. So in my own experience, the board that functions best are those whose members feel empowered to ask the hard questions because what they're doing is asking the questions that if the citizens are meant to be asking us in terms of service delivery. And where the CEO relationship with the board is built on transparency rather than information management. Because again, as opposed to a private sector board, a public sector board and public sector management are working on behalf of citizens. So the strategy always has to be sound, because what you're doing is you're working with public funds and public trust. Those are the two things. And so every board must have complete transparency on what is going on. And there's no information management because it affects the whole of Nigeria. Nipost currently has a board chairman, and I know that my engagements with him are quite substantive. He's very much interested in the, he has a lot of background in government. So he ensures that we are kept on our toes, that management is held accountable for the public trust and public funds that we use. So, I mean, definitely leading a federal institution does not insulate you from political reality. Nigerian public sector operates in a deep political environment, and so that's the truth of the matter. But what I've found as the best protection to ensure that mandate and public interest are aligned is having publicly articulated institutional mandate pursued with a visible professionalism. So when our strategy is well documented, well debated and published, when all our initiatives have the right and appropriate approvals, either from National Assembly, I have 2 oversight committees, one in House of Representatives and one in the Senate, when my initiatives have the appropriate approvals from my oversighting ministry and minister, and things that need the Federal Executive Council approval. So making sure that all initiatives and all things have the proper approvals and financing attached, then the space for interference, would narrow considerably, and transparency is a governance tool, right? The more transparent you are, the easier things become for you. And I think that very key is the alignment between Nipost and the ministry, so the leadership of the ministry. So I would say between myself and Dr. Bosun Tijani, who is the Minister for Communications, Innovations and Digital Economy. And we both understand that political leadership ensure that political leadership understands what we are doing and why we are doing it. That honest communication goes a long way. So, surprises and information management would breed suspicion. So having regular engagements build trust. Being upfront and being transparent builds trust and allows an institution to operate with the autonomy it needs when people trust you to do the right thing always. So on industry pressure, the principle is consistent. Having consistent and clear rules in your industry. So private operators can engage with us in good faith, knowing that they will receive fair treatment, and anyone who seeks advantages through influence rather than merit finds that the framework holds. And for the industry, it is consistency and fairness.